Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today's sad topic, honestly, a kind of sad and in some ways pathetic topic because to those of you with an internet connection and those of you who are watching our stuff, you might have heard about all the changes and events, let's go with that, happening at Warner Brothers since their buyout by Discovery. So
It's
we're here to talk
weird
about.
because everyone calls it
Yeah,
a merger, and that's what it is. But as far as I'm aware and what I understand, they were sold to Discovery by AT&T.
yeah. I heard the term buyout while searching everything up. I
It's
remember
weird.
that there was.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
it's weird. It's weird because I think initially it was known as a merger, but now all the reports are basically that it was a buyout. Discovery did buy Warner Brothers, which is why it's called, Warner Brothers Discovery.
Mhm.
So, with that said, this brought on a lot of changes and a lot of decisions were made. And between you and me and everyone else, those decisions are very stupid and nonsensical and weird, and we're able to talk about it, I guess, because that's what we
Mhm.
do. We are two dudes on the internet that like talking about stuff and share their opinions. So let's talk about this. What do you think overall?
Well,
I
we,
kind of said my bit.
we should definitely. I mean, it's definitely there's a lot of. So we should probably start off with saying like, hey, what is this? What's happening? All right, so you know, general like very quick rundown. I'm not a like economist. I'm not someone who has a lot of information about a lot of this stuff. Go talk to them
Yeah.
instead. But general quick like this is what we know information rundown. Warner Brothers Media was owned by AT&T, very big. Warner Brothers wasn't doing great, they weren't doing terrible, but they weren't making a ton of money, so they were sold to Discovery. I
Mhm.
don't know the full deal there, but Discovery apparently wanted to buy them, so that's the deal that was made, and Discovery bought Warner Brothers and merged. And we're talking about Discovery, the people who run the Discovery Channel, plus other things.
Mhm. Yes. So
Let me
the
see real
thing
quick, and I'll
is,
tell you some of the stuff
obvious.
they do.
And yes, because I think even though they're like some of the one of the biggest studios ever, because they're one of the most well known. They were a direct competitor to Disney, even.
I don't
It,
think they're a direct competitor to Disney. People say
Warner
that, but
Brothers, Warner,
Warner Brothers
you know,
isn't
I
that big. Genuinely, Warner Brothers is not that big. They own quite a bit, yes, but they're not that big. Warner
the thing
Brothers is
is,
a competitor to
yeah,
Disney in certain areas, but also like Universal is a competitor to Disney, right? In certain areas.
yeah,
It,
but
it's
here's the thing. Here's
no
the
one
thing.
can
I'm
compete
not
with
done.
Disney. Disney's just
Yeah,
too damn big.
well, now obviously no one can compare to Disney. I don't think even religious figures can compare with Disney at this point. This is what I meant, though. Way back when, like back, I think you weren't as old, that much older when, in the '90s. But because when I was growing up, you want to talk competitors, there was Disney and Warner, like Universal was around, 20th Century Fox was around. Yes, DreamWorks wasn't even funded until the 2000s. But I think Warner Brothers and Disney were like their competition way back when. And that's exactly the thing. That nowadays, I don't think they're even a margin from other studios. And you would think they would be considering, the entire, classic Disney and Looney Tunes, and Disney owns Marvel, Warner Brothers owns DC. Like,
Mhm.
You see what I mean by what
No,
I'm saying?
I
They
get you. Like
should
this
be
is
competitors, but they are not.
like they're competitors in certain areas, right? Like they both have a lot of competing brands, I guess you'd say. Like both companies own these brands that do compete, quote unquote, right? But like, you know, the more you look at Disney, the bigger they are as a company compared to Warner Brothers. Like Warner Brothers
Yeah,
doesn't own parks, Disney
but that's the
does.
thing. It
Universal
was this.
does.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about today.
No, no, I get you,
Back
right?
then, back then they were the two big names when it came to entertainment, and suddenly, like, well, like you would think, because I remember there was this entire, oh, Disney's buying every company out there, and it's like, imagine if Disney bought Warner Brothers, wouldn't that like be the end of the world? And it's like,
I feel like there's gonna be if Disney ever did that, there'd be a lot of like antitrust and like monopoly lawsuits going on, and I don't think Disney can buy Warner Brothers.
Of course, I'm not saying that they would. I'm not saying that they should or could, but
I
I'm
mean, they definitely
saying,
shouldn't, but they absolutely could.
yeah,
Let's be real.
but that's the thing, though. That's only hearing that a company like Warner Brothers is being bought, despite it making sense in this current world, and the fact that the studio isn't turning out much of a profit compared to other competition. It's still surprising. It was still surprising to hear that and again, like Wolf said, I am not an economist by any way of the imagination. I don't know how this type of business works, but like when you tell me Warner Brothers, I think about a lot of things, right? I think about the Looney Tunes. I think about the DC stuff. I'm thinking about a lot. I'm thinking about the current MonsterVerse and everything. But what you told me Discovery, I think Discovery Channel, and obviously it's not the only thing they do, but it's like Discovery is the one buying them. You get me? As a
Yes.
casual, I don't know about the business side of this. It seems like the little guy bought the big guy. You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you.
Mhm. And again, I know it's probably not the case. I'm just saying, as a casual looking at this, just by knowing what those people do from like a completely outside of the business side as possible, it seemed a bit weird.
I don't disagree. I mean, if you look on Wiki, right, and you look like just in the past, like what was Discovery's revenue and what was Warner Media's revenue, like I don't disagree with you, right? Like Discovery looks like it's around $10 billion in revenue, whereas Warner Media looks like it's in $35 billion in revenue. Like
There you go.
that's not indicative of a lot, but it at least gives you, I would say, an idea of, okay, one of these companies is bigger than the other, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Discovery doesn't really own a lot of brands outside of its Discovery programming, which there's some stuff there, sure, don't get me wrong, but it's not a lot. So it is extremely weird that Discovery were the ones who bought Warner Media, and how they were able
Yeah.
to afford that, I don't know. But
Yeah,
look,
because
also
again, when
maybe
you
that's
talk when
their
because
current issues.
if I have to compare it to something, I would compare it to when Disney bought 20th Century Fox. Because let's say this, like Disney buying Pixar wasn't that big of a shock, because they were in business with Pixar since Pixar's inception, basically. That's not surprising. Disney buying Marvel was a bit more of a surprise, because nobody really knew what it was going to mean for Marvel projects going forward. But it also did make a bit of sense, because Marvel at the same because when it came to the entertainment part of it, when it came to the movies, Marvel were always looking to sell like their IPs to
Mhm.
studios, so that they could get movies going. And then even if you look at like Iron Man 1 and The Incredible Hulk, like Iron Man 1, I think even 2 were technically Paramount movies, and
Yes.
and the Incredible Hulk was Universal. So even though they were Marvel Studios, they were still in on their own, and then Disney bought them. So it does. That also kind of makes sense. Lucasfilm is kind of the same deal, right? They were kind of their own thing and trying to shake up with with any kind of like a production company to get
It
funding.
it's also worth
Fine.
noting, right? Like Lucasfilm and Marvel, if I'm not mistaken, at the time weren't doing great either per se. Like they weren't again not doing horribly, just not doing great.
Like Lucasfilm, like Marvel was kind of on the rise when Disney got
Yeah.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lucasfilm was going down at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, they were very much in the background at that point, I would say.
Yeah, but then like when Disney bought 20th Century Fox, even if it wasn't doing as hot as it was still a big thing because they had they had the entirety of Fox, right? They had the Simpsons, Family Guy,
Fox
and
News.
they have Avatar.
Fox
They have,
News.
what are you saying?
Fox News.
Yeah, Fox News. There you go.
Don't say it like that's a good thing. That's a bad thing.
Still,
Topical.
forget good. Yeah, forget good or bad thing. Those are a lot of big
No, I agree with
franchises
you.
and
Like,
money makers under that umbrella.
even if
And
you could
and
argue, right, that Disney was still bigger than Fox, which I would say they were, it's still like that's
they
a
are.
big company to buy, though,
Like,
right?
even,
like everything
even
20th
if
Century Fox owns. I agree.
let's say 20th Century Fox may have Avatar, which I'm not sure if Endgame is still in the lead or not, but they have the highest grossing movie of all time, and Avatar 2 actually seems like it's coming out. It's bizarre, but
That's a
like
story all in and of itself.
yeah, and we'll probably talk about it back
Oh
when
no.
that happens. But that's $1-2 billion movie
Yeah.
compared to Disney, which has like what $1 billion movies in a year minimum.
Mm.
Yeah, Disney Disney was definitely in the lead on that one.
But again, right, it just I love, right, after they bought Fox, like people, I don't know if you ever saw it, but just seeing someone post the graph, right, of all the things Disney owns and how they're all interconnected, it is just mind-boggling the amount of shit Disney owns.
Exactly.
Like Disney owns their own real estate company.
Yeah, there you go.
And but it's not done anything. They own it specifically for Disney World down in Florida, and that was all they owned it for, and it's never done anything since. But it's crazy the amount of stuff Disney owns.
Yeah, because I remember actually kind of sidetracking, but there's this epic rap battles of history. Yeah, but like there's like this epic rap battles of history video, which is like Stanley versus Jim Henson. And in the middle of the rap battle, there's like a Stanley and Jim Henson gonna because like they're like there's no bad blood between us. We're both creators. We're both friends. We both respect each other. And then Walt Disney just walks into the rap battle, and it's like I own both of you. Go back to work. And then he said, and there's a point where he says, "Hell, I own this entire series." And it's like, yeah, like Disney actually owns the company which owns epic rap battles of history. They literally own that thing,
Mm.
So back to Discovery and Warner Brothers. What we're trying to say here, the little guy bought the big guy, and that's, I guess it just goes to show, yeah, it's weird, all things considered, but. So, out of nowhere, surprising, but it doesn't mean it necessarily has to be bad, right?
Well, it's worth noting, right? Like, going back into explaining some of this, they did buy them, and, this has apparently left them in quite a bit of debt, or, some money issues, supposedly. So, getting into the meat of our discussion, this has basically led them to canceling many different things, right?
So let's do this one at a time. Let's start with the most controversial ones. Let's talk about the DCEU for a second.
Okay, that's where we're
And
going to start. Yeah, like DC
eh,
Comics, right? They've had quite a lot of stuff canceled, and the CEO used to be just the CEO of Discovery, who is now the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery,
mhm.
has said he wants to create a 10-year plan similar to Marvel. I'm sure that'll work out.
But,
Um,
okay, actually, can we start with this? Mr. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO, in case you're
Zaslav. I
listening
think
to
his
this,
name is David Zaslav.
David, okay, whatever your name is, let me tell you one thing. The one thing you should never do with DC anymore is try to follow Marvel. Because I feel like this is where everything actually goes to shit. Like, okay, I know I'm not the biggest defender of Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, and if you love those movies, go right ahead. I don't think they are necessarily awful, just really flawed in a lot of ways. But the thing is, that you have your own direction. Go with it. The exact point where the DCEU started fumbling is when they tried to be too much like Marvel and Suicide Squad, which they reshot a third of it so that it could be more like Guardians of the Galaxy. And then we had the theatrical cut of Justice League, which again, just look at it, and you even brought the director of the first two Avengers movies to finish it. What does that tell you? They are
It,
trying to be Marvel.
it always
And
it always comes back, right? If you're the one who's chasing the trends, you're never going to be as good as the trendsetters. People are always going, you're always going to be worse off. Even if you're making something better, potentially, you're still going to be worse off. Although I would say 99% of the time, if you're chasing the trend, you're not making something better more often than not, because you're compromising on so much to make your thing like that when it really shouldn't be like that.
that's the thing. When did DC start getting good with this kind of stuff? Is that when they just try to do their own thing? Like the first Wonder Woman movie. I personally just think it's okay. It's spectacular, but at least it was good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What was like? Yeah, obviously it's gonna building up Wonder Woman in that universe. After we saw her in that movie, now we kind of so now we kind of need to give her her own thing. Fair enough. Okay,
But it
fair.
works though. It's actually
Yeah,
pretty
but it
decent.
works. Yeah, but it works because it was also its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily the only real connection it has. It's like a picture. It's just a picture Bruce Wayne gave her in Batman v Superman, if I recall. But other than that, it does its own thing. The story starts with this movie, concludes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And the less we talk about Wonder Woman 84, the better. But trust me, it's a
I
podcast
mean,
for a whole other day we should never do.
does that not
Unless you
defeat your
want.
point though in doing their own thing?
No, it's not, because then I haven't seen
Where's
those
the
movies,
Marvel
but
movie that's like Wonder Woman 84
wait.
or HC? Where?
Well, I mean, something, we'll probably get to it at some point, but I'm not saying Marvel is perfect for the record.
No,
But
no.
here's the thing. Now, so then I haven't seen Aquaman or Shazam, but apparently people look at them very fondly. People like those movies. So, and from what I've heard, they're not deeply connected into the other like Aquaman is the same one from Justice League, but aside from that, people say that there's no real connection. And Shazam, and same applies for Shazam. And then you have Joker, which has nothing to do with us, and that's a great movie. And just last year there was the new Suicide Squad movie, which again, James Gunn, haha, we took the Guardians guy and put him in our Guardians, but he's like, you know what? No, I can make this R-rated, and like the new Suicide Squad movie actually feels like a different movie than Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's good. It was even great. Again, you can have it so that the universe is shared or whatever, but you don't have to do this like Marvel does it.
Hmm.
You can have a shared universe, but be different.
But getting into it, right?
So now they canceled Batgirl.
They canceled more than that.
Let's start again.
Let's go down the list and we can kind of, talk about each one as we will. So yeah, Batgirl. We're talking about the movie, not the series. So this is the Batgirl movie.
Yeah, the Batgirl movie,
which was, as far as I'm aware, almost finished and had even begun test screenings. Yeah,
it was in post-production. Now, as a film graduate, and as someone who is trying to get a few scripts off the ground and everything,
this is going to be your area of expertise.
Yeah. So here's the thing: I, as a film major, this is a completely terrible, complete bullshit, and complete middle finger to anyone who's ever worked for you.
Well, it's very unheard of from what I'm understanding as well.
It's
like
also
canceling a movie that's that far in.
I'm getting to this. Getting to this.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. It's not uncommon that movies get canceled, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the problem, though. If a movie is canceled, it's done either in the development or pre-production stages. And sometimes you can say a movie is canceled, but it can come back later. Like there was this entire Superman Lives movie which was canceled, but then some fragments of it were transitioned to Superman Returns. Mm-hmm. Specifically, that they wanted to cast Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor in that one, and then they cast him to death. But there were plans for a Batman v Superman movie for years. They canceled a few scripts, and then we actually got it. So, but the thing is, if you're going to cancel a movie, you cancel it before the director's decision. You cancel it before you signed not necessarily before, but you cancel it before you even go to shooting. And now you cancel this movie, like in post-production. They have cuts of this. They showed scenes to people. And by all means, because people have argued this, yes, it's definitely something they can do. They own the rights to this movie. They own everything having to do with it. They can do it, no problem. But you do realize that how much was the budget for this movie? I think over 90 million, I think.
Around 90 million is what I'm seeing at least. Which that's just production.
And so that's 90 million for writers, directors, actors, everyone who was on this damn set, maybe even some marketing deals which were in plan, editors, all of those 90 millions gone to that trash. End of story. Regardless if they can do it or not, or if it's a ballsy move or not, and we'll get to this fucking bullshit claim later, this is idiotic. Again, not an economist by any way, but this is $90 million that they just basically spent on people the people got paid, great, but they're sure as hell not going to, if any of those people had like any deal in their contract regarding, we're gonna get paid after the movie is released, and if it's a success, we're gonna make a ton more. That's gone. That is fucking gone. That movie is not seeing the end of the light of day. And what's even more baffling about all of this is that because it supposedly got bad reviews at test screenings. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I'm not claiming to know what happened there, but you need to realize that these people know exactly who they are bringing to those test test screenings, right? Like if it's a kids movie, obviously you want to bring kids. If it's an adult movie, you want to bring in adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they not maybe it's a conspiracy thing. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, but I don't know. I think they brought the exact people who would hate a movie like this for the test screening.
Well, it's also right there. If I'm not mistaken, there's been a lot of proof in the past, and will probably continue to be in the future, into the future, that test screenings are never truly indicative of how well a film or anything for that matter will or will not do. You just have to
Sometimes it
release it into the
does.
wild. It can, do not get me wrong, and it has, but from what I understand, majority of the time, the test screening was never fully in line with, the expectations from the test screening were very much disproven or never in line with what it actually did when it was released out into the wild, right?
Yes,
And I don't know about you,
exactly.
but I've heard plenty of stories of people getting to go to test screenings. Whether these are true or not, I cannot say and do not know. So, take it with a grain of salt. But I've heard plenty of stories from people who've gotten to go to test screenings and just say whatever because they don't care, because they're just there for like the free test screening or whatever, because they got to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, after a certain point, I'm not sure if I would rely on test screenings, but it's also worth noting, right? Batgirl's test screening scores were tied with Black Adam, and Black Adam's still set on the same release schedule it had before.
There you go. And I'll do you better. Black Adam has a trailer now. Black Adam is a movie that's happening.
Now,
If
it's entirely possible
it,
they could come out and cancel Black Adam or, push it back as well. But
honestly, I would tell you, since they just released a trailer for it, and so it seems, and Batgirl didn't get any. We just saw pics. So, like, I would say that at this point everything is possible because I would never imagine them cancel the Batgirl that late into the game. But I want to say that at least at the time of this recording, Black Adam is safe because we actually get promotion material for it.
I wonder if
And
Black
again,
Adam is safe because it's The Rock, right? And he
yeah.
has more
So
pull
there's a
than the actress behind Batgirl, right? I
yeah,
do
and
wonder.
you could say that Batgirl had Michael Keaton returning as Batman, which is a big deal, but
Does Michael Keaton
to
have The Rock pull, though?
no, it's not necessarily the fact that Michael Keaton has the rock pull. It's the fact that he's coming back to this iconic role that he has. It's the same as
That's fair.
to compare to something. It's like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire coming back to Spider-Man, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
So not sure if it's exactly the same because I don't think Batfleck for all intents and purposes it was supposed to be in Batgirl. I'm not sure anymore but regardless, regardless, Black Adam for now is happening. At the time of this recording, it's happening, and supposedly Black Adam and Batgirl were received similar opinions in test screening. So regardless of what that feedback was, why does one go forward and the other is canceled?
I mean, as of now, and I'll get into it more later in terms of, from what we know, how much Warner Brothers has saved from all these different cancellations. The only assumption I can make is they stand to save more money from canceling Batgirl than they did anything that they didn't cancel, like, say, Black Adam. You could, there's possibility that you could read more into it, in so much as, if you want to go down that road of sexism, but we don't know unless someone from behind the scenes. No, I'm not saying that either. I'm sure there are people out there who are. I cannot sit here and say that with a straight face, right? Because we don't know. Someone from behind the scenes who's high up enough would have to come out and say, oh, here's blah, blah, blah information for you. And people can then read into that how they see fit, right? All we can say for certain is that they canceled it, and it had to be because they stand to save more money and truly felt that this $90 million would not have made itself back if the movie released, publicly. Like, that's the only reason they would have to cancel it, is that they were extremely certain that this movie would not make back its money.
And then in kind of an honestly ironic but also shocking twist, I've seen people like as soon as this announcement was made, I'm not maybe on the day, I don't recall.
Mhm.
I've seen someone now like kind of praise the new CEO because apparently another thing they kind of want to do is to give the DCU its own Kevin Feige, right? Like Kevin Feige is the guy who's in charge of the MCU, right? He's been leading the MCU since the first Iron Man.
If I'm not
He
mistaken,
was
Disney want to get rid of him though. So
regardless of that, right? That's a discussion for another day. But I think that the DCEU never really had a Kevin Feige. It just had a board of executives. So giving the DCEU a Kevin Feige isn't a bad idea because you need someone to guide that ship, right?
For understanding Kevin Feige to Marvel is basically he's the one who's dictated all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, right? Everything that has been created within the MCU has to be run through him, and he's like top story guy. And I don't disagree, right? It would definitely be better because all the DCEU stuff has definitely been like it.
Unfocused.
You can definitely tell, unfocused. You can definitely tell there's supposed to be connections, but it doesn't feel that way. And maybe if they had one person at the top who they could run all this different story stuff through, they could make everything more focused and more tight and more connected and make it better. I'm not against that move. I think that's an entirely good possibility. I think that's a good step.
Again, so that's the thing. Giving the DCU a Kevin Feige isn't a bad idea. Now, but the thing is, regardless if I don't think the guy who announced Batgirl cancellation is the new Kevin Feige. I don't remember the names at the moment, but the thing is, but I've seen someone argue like around the time that this announcement was made about canceling Batgirl, it's like, oh, what a bold but brilliant move by this guy, by that guy. Now we are like raising our eyebrows, but now he's gonna bring back Snyder, and the DCU will rise again.
Snyder, please, not Snyder.
And here's the thing: one, just because they canceled this movie doesn't mean Zack Snyder is coming to this later. Two, I really don't get the sudden Zack Snyder love and hype that's been going around. It's great if you love his movies, by all means, enjoy them. I implore you to go out there and celebrate it, but don't act like this guy is a freaking messiah because his movies are flawed. Big time. Yeah. Let's get that straight. Now,
being nice,
But now let's actually go back to the point that I think it's the new Warner Brothers, the Warner Brothers Discovery CEO. He actually said that Zack Snyder isn't coming back, and legit called people who thought he was going to bring him back idiots.
I like him.
No, fuck this kind of person. Who would go out there and say my audience is a bunch of idiots?
Someone who agrees that Zack Snyder is fucking bullshit. I like him already. He's doing the right thing. Case closed.
Here's the thing. Wolf, buddy. I may not like Zack Snyder's efforts as much as
Listen,
some of
I'll
them
get into
other
more
people.
of David Zaslav and why I think he's a terrible fucking CEO later. But in this decision, I clap for him, man. Tell these Zack Snyder fucking brown nosers off. They deserve it. This man is not as good as everyone keeps saying he is. I'm sorry.
I agree, but at the same time, send all of the hate mails to that guy.
Yeah, to David Zaslav. Send your hate mail to him, not me.
Yeah. Okay, but so one, there's that. Two, I'm gonna shift in here because he canceled. So Batgirl's done. That's canceled. The directors, actually, one of the directors got married on the day they announced it. Like, fucking hell. Although I guess this is just bad timing. But then when the directors looked into the Warner Brothers hard drives to kind of try and save something from the movie, turns out they just deleted the entire footage. Like Warner Brothers people actually deleted the footage. Like they want nothing to do with this. And it's like, why
Well,
do that?
this is why a lot of people have been saying that, or some people anyways. I don't know if a lot of people would say this, but I've been seeing some people say that all of these cancellations and the reason you've seen basically this, deletion of everything related to all of it everywhere just about is because they're trying to basically gain money back in tax write-offs, right? And that's supposedly going to get them quite a lot of money. And we know some of them, again, we know some of the amount of money they've gotten back already. There's potentially that, through tax write-offs and other means of cancellation and deletion of all these things could get them back more money in the future. I don't know, but I think the idea is if you do try to like tax write off a lot of this stuff, from what I understand, you can't be seen to have like anything left of it or be making any money off of it in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Otherwise, you can get in big trouble. So they have to basically, scorched earth this sort of stuff.
But then, Wolf, comes the other big thing where apparently they held and this is their words, right? This is how they advertise it. They held a funeral screening for Batgirl, which is like for the cast and crew.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Now, okay, let's go back to what you said. This whole thing is a tax write-off. Fine, right? Let's go with that. Mm-hmm. Question: why the fuck isn't The Flash cancelled?
Well, the show is, I believe.
I'm not talking about the show. Let's leave the show outside for a second. Let's talk about the movie that's supposedly still coming out.
Are they still going to have Ezra Miller as the star for that show?
For the movie, yes. Ezra Miller is still in the lead. And in case you are not aware, dear audience, Ezra Miller is kind of a piece of shit, as it turns out.
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy around Ezra Miller recently of him like abducting someone, being abusive to people. My apologies. They've abducted someone, they've been abusive to people. They
ran away from the police.
That too. Yeah, it's bad. I can't believe they're still gonna let them be the Flash, but okay, Warner Brothers.
Because apparently there's like this entire thing where apparently Warner Brothers is kind of waiting on Ezra Miller to state anything, and they did kind of have this apology that this entire thing was a result of their very depressive, like their depression episode or something. I'm not entirely sure, but but here's the thing, though. According to the CEO, The Flash is getting raving reviews in the test previews. So I just want to point out that earlier this year, Will Smith was banned from the Academy for slapping Chris Rock and a bunch of other things. So why is he being punished but not Ezra Miller?
To be fair, Will Smith, hey, I'm gonna ban myself, and then they came out and said, okay, we're gonna ban Will Smith, and it's like, he already banned himself from going back ever again, anyways, in the first place. So he beat them to it.
Yeah, but at the same time, they could still say, something, Chris Rock was actually in there wrong. We can ban Chris Rock.
I'd ban them both,
this is just a matter, but this is just an entire matter of this person has done terrible things.
I get you. I get you. Like that was just a slap. This is the movie that's going forward. A debatably bad joke, but this is, this person has done actually terrible shit that broke the law. And but I mean, I guess that goes back to, the lay people, right? The general public, what they hear, what they understand, what they see compared to what people who are more involved with the industry see, right? I would genuinely wonder how many people have heard of all of Ezra Miller's exploits recently.
I'm sure people have.
Like
I'm
how,
sure.
you know, well
And
talked
let's say
about is
this,
that within the general public
that's
sphere
the
compared
thing.
to Will
And
Smith's slap? Because that was live on air at the Oscars, I believe, or
yeah,
what?
it was a yes.
Yeah, like as much as all of us will tell you the Oscars is shit, everyone fucking watches the Oscars. I feel like the
I
Oscars
don't.
probably
I
gets.
take pride of the fact that I
Oh
don't
no, I
watch the
don't
Oscars.
either. But everyone does watch the Oscars. They get a shit ton of views for that show, whether it deserves it or not. Newsflash, it doesn't. I don't feel like news shows reporting on Ezra Miller's being an absolute asshole gets as many views as the Oscar does.
One, I'd argue that it depends, but it
I
would
agree with you,
get
it
as much
does.
coverage. Two, and that's important. Even if the movie is happening, I think Warner Bros. Went out to say that Ezra Miller would not be involved in marketing. Like their name would be pulled out of marketing. They won't be doing any interviews. It's everyone else would like promote this movie. Like Ben Affleck is supposedly in it. He'll do promotional stuff. The actor, whoever is playing the villain, they're gonna do marketing for this. Ezra Miller would not do that. So isn't it kind of a bad sign that the only person not doing any kind of press junket for a movie is the star?
I mean, after a certain point, again, I come back to this movie. Again, this movie was probably, they assume, irregardless of the controversy, irregardless of the potential backlash, that this movie can make back all of the money they spent on it plus some. And the assumption was Batgirl could not. Like I have to go in it with that kind of mindset. That's what I have to assume
I
because there's
I
no other way.
suppose. And
There's no,
let's say
because otherwise,
there
like,
are other ways, but those other ways
mhm,
are
mhm.
like terrible, and I don't want to believe they are the reasons, because if those are the reasons, there's a lot more bullshit to dig through, but I don't want to make accusations.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, it's just one of those. I have to assume they were fully in the belief that, based on test screenings, the Flash can make back its money plus some, and Batgirl would not have made back its $90 million, and it was more prudent to like get the write-offs for it, however much that might be, is my assumption, right? And that the write-offs for the Flash is just not enough to cover what they spent. That would be my
Yeah.
assumption, but it's one of those things where, ugh.
No,
From the
yeah, I
outside
get
looking
you.
in, it's just hard to come to an understanding of this, right? From the outside looking in.
Definitely. But
But
I guess
looking at
we're
other
coming.
stuff they canceled, I don't
Yeah.
know if you know too much about it, but going kind of down this list, Wonder Twins
Mhm.
was canceled.
That's honestly, if it was a thing, I'm not even sure. I'm not too much familiar with the Wonder. I know Wonder Twins is a thing that exists, but I'm not familiar with it
I don't know
myself.
too much about it either, but apparently it was like it was a movie, had a reported budget of $75 million, and they had a cast, but it was
Yeah, they
scrapped.
had a cast, but at the same time, they didn't film anything.
Yeah, so
It
that
was
again, that's not too
again,
big a deal.
like what I said. If you're going to cancel a project, it's still in the pre-production stage. It's still in the early stages before you actually say action on anything.
Yeah, yeah. Other things that were canceled, but again, like this is stuff that, yeah, this wasn't out. This didn't have anything going for it major. Strange Adventures, there was little known about that, but it was canceled. There was a Green Lantern TV series that has been canceled.
Mhm.
Young Justice has no plans for a fifth season, so it seems that
Well,
is.
but then again, this is I haven't watched it. I heard it's good, but
Pretty
This is
good, yeah.
also a show that like they canceled it initially after 2 seasons, and it was even a miracle that they brought it back for 2 more, like years
Yeah,
after the
yeah.
fact.
Yeah, this is true.
But at the same time, though, yeah, it does suck that it's just done again. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not following the show, but I hope that
Mhm.
apparently a lot of people were upset that season 2 ended on a cliffhanger. I think that's the story. Again, I'm not entirely sure, so I hope that at least season 4 kind of ended things and you're not stuck in midair again. Hopefully.
Mhm. Hopefully. Um, the Batwoman show is apparently canceled after 3 seasons. Apparently, there's been some drama behind the scenes for that one. Do not know, have not kept up with it, will admit.
Yeah, I know it's again one of those things. I know it exists. Don't have much experience with it though.
After that, The Flash, the show, is being canceled after its ninth
Yeah,
season. Apparently, this one's very
yeah,
popular. I, again, have not kept up with it. Do not
that's the
know.
one that's very popular. I haven't seen it for myself, but I heard that like in like the last few seasons, it's like okay, thank God this show is ending. But good on them for running it for 9 seasons though. But you see, with something like Batwoman and the Flash TV show, those are projects that been around for a while, and maybe the plan was to cancel them anyway at this point. So these are not like shocking revelations like
Yeah.
the Batgirl one.
To finish it up, DC's Legends of Tomorrow was also canceled.
Again, again, another show that's been on the air for a few years.
Mm. Aquaman Kingdom of Atlantis. This was an animated miniseries. This was also canceled, but they also and we'll get into more of this later. Every current episode that was on HBO Max is gone completely.
Yes, and I guess this is kind of a good way to transition into that.
Well, I'm not done with the DC stuff yet. We got a few more.
Oh,
They canceled a
okay
lot.
then.
Naomi, a superhero drama, was canceled after 1 season. Batman Caped Crusader, that project's not going forward anymore. And Merry Little Batman is also done.
Yeah.
There's been some stuff that has been delayed, like Shazam and the new Aquaman movies were both delayed and pushed back until next year. And a bunch of other stuff that's been delayed and things of that nature.
But at least again, Shazam, at least we have a trailer, so that's still happening. And I know that the Aquaman sequel has a lot of problems with it as is because it had Johnny Depp's ex-wife in it. So yeah, that's another kind of fish.
I mean, but like you have to state so much for a lot of these because you have no clue what could be up on the chopping block at this point, no matter how far along it is at this point. Because like there's a ton of DC projects that are still ongoing that we have no idea what the status of is at this point. Because who knows what they may or may not do.
Again, because I want to
like
say,
the J.J.
right?
Abrams
Again,
Superman, that could be canceled.
Like actually, the Superman and Lois. That's a new show that people apparently really like, and that's. I hope that's okay because I haven't seen it for myself, but I know a lot of people like it.
But as you said, segueing past the DC content, let's get into this. We talked about Aquaman and how there were some episodes there, but they were completely pulled, and now it is completely gone and has disappeared off of the service that is HBO Max, which has happened to many other shows. A lot of them animation focused, but a lot of shows weren't just canceled; they were completely pulled and are gone. The only way you can possibly find many of them at this point is through pirating them. That's it. And getting into that, some people have also talked about that Warner Brothers has decided to, in canceling these and in pulling these shows, is no longer paying people the residuals that they were owed, and has also laid off many staff members and is pulling away of areas that they consider low-performing content.
I would just want to point out that I just heard recently that Dana Terrace, the creator of the Owl House, actually has to pirate her own show in order to watch it for reasons. So again, keep in mind. So we're talking about something that's even more awful than Disney not allowing creators to watch their shows legally. Let that sink in.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware, generally, even after a show is created and done, as it airs and continues to air, it has to pay residuals to those who worked on it. These residuals basically go towards, from what I understand, and this information comes from the creator of Infinity Train. They talked a little bit about this. Residuals basically go towards paying union dues for its members. This goes from animation people to voice actor people, all of them. Anyone involved, they get paid. It's not a ton of money. It's very, very little, but it's enough to pay union dues, which would pay health insurance and things of that nature, right?
Yeah, it can help. It can help with your living. That's all you need to know.
Yes, and like a little bit of cost of living functions. Basically, again, you live in America. Have fun paying for insurance. This helps with that a lot, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And by not just by canceling the show, again, as long as it's still running and airing, even if it's not airing anything new, they still get paid residuals off of that. By canceling and then outright removing it and pulling everything,
that means you're not getting those residuals.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is not great. Not a good look. At all.
It's not good at all. Like, if you want my complete honest opinion on this is fucking bullshit. This is awful in so many ways. And honestly, there's no way to cancel it because, again, what's like when you look at this, what's HBO Max? It's the Warner Brothers network. You want to watch something that's one of us, be it the DCU, be it Looney Tunes, be it whatever, it's one of us. You go to HBO Max. Like, this is kind of this is one of those. This is how it works for the past few years, I think. So let's actually talk about this in practical terms. What harm could Infinity Train, a show that I have still not watched, but am looking into it.
You can no longer watch anymore.
Well, I have my way. And
Yar,
because you know what? HBO, they don't want me to watch it legally, so
we should be clear, right? All of the shows we're going to talk about, Infinity Train chief among them, weren't just canceled. They weren't just removed from HBO Max. You cannot find any of the trailers. You cannot even find the original, demo thing, like the original, like demo episode. The pilot episode that they released to see what people felt about Infinity Train, to see if there's any interest. Like, you can't find the pilot episode, tweets from their Twitter, the trailers, anything. All of it is
the
now
only thing,
gone.
Kind of an update that I found out before we were doing this episode. The soundtracks are apparently back on iTunes. You can buy the.
Yeah, they had removed that briefly as well. If you owned the soundtrack, like if you didn't own the soundtracks, they were gone as well. But they're back now.
Yeah, apparently they're
interesting.
Back. Yeah, but regardless, when it comes to the show itself, and as far as I'm aware, there's no physical release of Infinity Train or any of those shows. Like, maybe some, not sure how in full, because
I don't know. I've not seen any things. I think it's only on the streaming service.
Because tell you what, if there's if right now somebody guides me in the direction of like a DVD or a Blu-ray pack of Infinity Train, even though I haven't seen the show, I'll buy that shit because something I want to support. I haven't seen the show yet. I've seen I think I've seen the pilot with a friend way back when, but I'm not necessarily sure. But the point of the matter is that you living Infinite Train, which is a show that I know a lot of people love, and everything else that was taken down from there because there are other a good animated show on HBO Max. I don't have names on top of my head, but still, I'm not counting the Harley Quinn show because apparently that's just been renewed. So that one's safe for some reason. But what benefit comes from deleting all of this? Because when you delete this kind of stuff, you lose an audience. And how much money is it gonna make you if you lose that core audience?
Well, I can get into that briefly in a bit. I can tell you how much money it made them and how much it has apparently lost them.
Yeah.
Because I have some numbers that have been released.
Okay.
That we have. Well, going into it, right, just a list of rundown of stuff that was canceled. There's some movies that have released in the past that was canceled, but a ton of like animated stuff. You had a Scooby-Doo thing that was canceled, or
yeah, then I'm not sure
yes,
if it was
this
a
movie
holiday
was
special.
also almost completed and it was canceled, but it was a holiday special.
Yep.
2 different Looney Tunes movies, a Steve Urkel movie. Apparently, I didn't even know we were bringing him back, but okay.
I had no idea. And the last time I heard about something Steve Urkel related was when he appeared in an episode of a Scooby Doo show. Like, because they had this thing that in every episode they would cross over with something.
Yeah.
But
there was an Amazing World of Gumball movie that has been canceled. Then a ton of original shows: Infinity Train, Little Ellen, which was canceled before the completed 3rd season aired. So another one that's odd. Gordita Chronicles, Generation Hustle, The Fungies, Esma and Roy, Ellen's Next Great Designer. I probably anyway, because Ellen. Close Enough, About Last Night, 12 Dates of Christmas, Made for Love, My Mom, Your Dad, Odo, Raised by Wolves, Ravi Patel's Pursuit of Happiness, Summer Camp Island, The Not Too Late Show with Elmo. They canceled Elmo. Come on, seriously?
You know something? If don't get me wrong, no, actually, get me there as much as you want. This is freaking bullshit. You canceled Elmo. By definition, you canceled Sesame Street.
They did actually cancel select Sesame Street specials as well.
That is bullshit. Sesame Street. Why? Who is this harming?
They canceled the fucking street, man. We riot.
Yeah, you say this in a joking manner, but no, like this is really, why would you cancel Sesame Street of all things?
Supposedly, according to some higher up people, Warner Brothers Discovery, they want to apparently move away from live action stuff and more family and kids focused stuff, as well as non-scripted stuff, which from what I understand includes like non-fiction or reality or docuseries.
Well, guess what? Maybe for this, you should probably look up what the family stuff means and less live action before you cancel your anime.
I mean, that because again, I can't imagine some of this stuff performed that badly, but I'm not someone who has that information, right? I can't say. But what I can say from all of these cancellations and everything else they've done, they have made $825 million in write-downs. So, this is the money that they've probably made back from a lot of the cancellations of the shows and other things that they have managed to accrue back. However, they've recently shared, as they reported this $825 million surplus in write-downs, they reported an earnings report. And that revealed that the company has lost a large chunk of change. That chunk of change being the $3.4 billion after the first quarter of this post-merger, which essentially makes that $825 million that they made in write-downs a drop in the bucket, because $3.4 billion is big.
Yep, it is.
But it's worth noting, like, this isn't the only stuff that Warner Brothers Discovery has gotten rid of. The CW, you know, they have basically, which was a joint venture between Warner Brothers and CBS. Warner Brothers has sold all of their stake in the CW, or majority of it. They went from 50% stake in this to just 12.5% stake in it. CNN Plus was also completely canceled and, you know, killed off. TBS and TNT, Warner Brothers is canceling a lot of the series that they had on TNT and TBS as well, and they're no longer going to put shows on those networks anymore. They're not going to focus on putting shows on those networks anymore. The shows on TBS that were canceled was Chad, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Final Space, and Kill the Orange-Faced Bear, and The Big D. Don't know about any of them, not very familiar. TNT, they canceled Animal Kingdom and Snowpiercer. Oh no, Snowpiercer will air its 4th season and then it's done.
But, cool, I guess.
Yeah, like it's been a lot of stuff has been canceled in supposedly the idea of trying to save money after this merger, because this merger apparently cost a lot, which is understandable. But again, if the only thing they've managed to save thus far is $825 million and this has cost them $3.4 billion, I don't think they're working too well. But getting back to David Zaslav and why he is an absolute scummy person as a CEO, would you like to know how much money he is getting paid?
I am sure that the answer is going to piss me off, but hit me. Let's rip the Band-Aid off.
As of now, from what I understand, he has a $3 million salary and an annual $22 million bonus, and because of this deal, he received stock options valued at close to $200 million. He is considered one of the highest paid entertainment executives in the world as of now. And yet the idea here is that supposedly he's pinching pennies and trying to save money and stops paying people residuals. Like, come back to it. Why don't you, Mr. CEO, with all of that money, take a bit of a pay cut? I think you can afford it.
2 words. Fuck him.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. But again, like, it comes back to,
if I may say it with more words, fuck him without mercy in the ass and make him bleed.
But it comes back to, right, like we sat here and we continue to say all of this feels so odd and so weird from an outside looking in eye, and that's the opinion of so many people, because many of these things were canceled. Like some of these shows that had completed seasons that were ready to air, they were canceled and completely scrubbed from the web, you know, from everything essentially, without any word to the creators behind them, right? Like, so many of the creators came forward and said, we had no clue this was going to happen. We had no idea. No one told us anything. We're just now finding out about it, as are all of you.
Going back to one of the Batgirl directors find out on his wedding. That's like, yikes.
Like the guy behind Infinity Train, right? Like, he came out and said quite a few different things, but one of the big things from him was, we had no idea. And this is Infinity Train. It took Infinity Train fucking forever to get its, you know, debut, and that guy had to go through hell to get all of that, but he managed it, and now it's all just gone. The only way you can literally watch it is to pirate it. And that's the same for a lot of these shows. Like, the only way you can watch so many of these shows now is to literally pirate them, because they weren't just canceled, they were completely scrubbed. Like, it was, again, scorched earth policy. And it's just, that is, I think, the most surprising thing, that they didn't just cancel them, they scrubbed everything about their existence from as many different places as they possibly could.
Yep.
That's the thing that I think surprises most people and pisses a lot of people off, because, you know, why? And I come back to, the only thing I can assume is they're trying to get tax write-offs, and in order to do that, they have to get rid of as much as they possibly can, or they're getting rid of it because of potential ad revenue in those areas, and they don't want that to be seen as them making money off of something that they're trying to get tax write-offs on. That's the only thing that I think can be assumed, but it's very penny pincher, and yet the CEO is still getting paid that much money. But, you know, I feel like, why buy Warner Brothers if it's going to put you in this sort of position, and you've still lost money even after trying to gain money back? It's just such a weird situation that this is in, that Discovery of all places bought Warner Brothers. And, you know, I may sit here and say that Warner Brothers isn't that big, but Warner Brothers still owns a lot. They have their hands in a lot of pies.
Honestly, at this point, I just want to say, imagine if this happened during the time when Charlie Sheen was going all out on Warner Brothers for the Two and a Half Men controversy.
Yeah.
Yes, your silence means everything because that is a creepy thought.
But I mean, it is worth pointing out, right? Like, this does leave a lot of people concerned as to what's going to happen to Cartoon Network or Adult Swim or, you know,
Listen,
Toonami.
obviously, let's say because you know all of them, you know, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Toonami. I think, not sure to what extent, but I think not everything animation related is gone because they just announced that Harley Quinn is getting a fourth season. So I want to assume, at the very least, there's you know there's some animation stuff left that they're gonna keep pushing forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
They see the benefit of their animated shows, and hopefully stuff will keep coming out, and you know beloved shows that are supposed to get new seasons will get new seasons. I hope this is the case.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think it's also one of those things that we better keep looking both ways regarding this,
Mm-hmm.
because the fact we even have to talk about this topic as it is right now, that in itself is
I mean, it's definitely one of those things of, I don't think we've ever seen this within the industry before at this level, right?
mm-hmm.
Because this is a lot of cancellations all at once, especially of many things that were ready to be aired, right? It's not that it's not that all of this stuff was like in the ether. It had been announced. There were some names thrown around, but that's it. Many of these things they were ready to go, to be released. They had everything they needed. All they had to do was release it. That was it. That's, again, as we said before, that's unheard of, that you cancel something that is already been made and ready to be released. That's,
Mm-hmm.
if not rare, outright has not been done before, you know?
Yes.
From my knowledge.
Well,
And
what?
hi, if you're a Ruby fan, Warner Brothers owns Rooster Teeth, so who knows what can happen to that at this point as well.
Oh boy, you know something? I sure pray for you and all the other fans
I would be
that.
so pissed if they came out and said, yeah, Ruby's canceled now. I would be so pissed, because that show is nowhere near done and I need to see the conclusion. There's a lot of people, I think, who would say, good, fuck you. No, I need to see the ending, okay? I don't need. If they want to cancel that dumbass, you know, Ruby and DC, you know, comic heroes crossover movie, fine, cancel it. I don't much care. I'm curious, but I don't much care. I would rather see the show. But if you come out and say the show's canceled, but we're still doing other stuff with Ruby in regards to DC Comics, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed. I'm gonna be so angry. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Don't do that to my girls. I need it.
Yeah. I hope, honestly, I hope for you that they're not gonna touch it.
I hope. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who hoped they wouldn't touch a lot of things, and those things are now gone. So who knows? It's very much up in the air moving in towards the future. I think at this point, there's some hope that these things can and will be brought back in the future, maybe in slightly new forms, but hopefully that is the case. Hopefully they do bring these things back and they decide that, it is worth having this stuff. I don't know. None of us do at this point. It's definitely some interesting times ahead for Warner Brothers Discovery. Hopefully they can make it out. Hopefully people are able to keep their jobs and or find new places to land that are even better for them, you know?
Well, what else is there to say?
A wild ride it has been, and I'm sure a wild ride it will continue to be, unfortunately.
Well, let's I guess that's kind of is there a pleasant way to sum this up? Because I honestly don't think so.
It's always a shame to see shows go, even if, you know, they weren't the greatest of the shows. And some of these were genuinely really good, though, which is even more unfortunate. It's always a shame to see these things go and not get completed, because there's always the potential possibility that they could become better, right? Like, we sit here and we harp on Nine Realms a lot, but there is the possibility that Nine Realms could become good.
No, that's a fool's dream. This is never getting better.
I will continue to give them hope, right? I will continue to say there's a possibility there. It might be slim. It might be small.
For the record, because here's the thing. Even if the chances are slim, I would love to be wrong about Nine Realms eventually, right? And be proven wrong.
We sit here and we talk bad about some stuff, or, you know, we say we dislike this, but at the end of the day, 100% of the time, we want to see these things do good because we want to like and enjoy and even love them, right?
Because, you know, people have said, you know, people have said that, you know, there is this competition between, you know, between DC and Marvel, right? And like, even though I'm more of a Marvel guy personally, I don't want DC's movies to be bad. Because if both Marvel and DC make good movies, then guess what? Everyone wins.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to go, we don't, like, people would do it anyway, but there would be no need for stupid fan wars online about who's better, because both can be good in their own way. I want both to be better.
Even if you do that, right? If both are great, or at least good, that, you know, all that does is make competition that much stronger, because now they have to do better and they have to continue to be better and get better, right? And you just get better and better movies and better shows. You know, if one starts doing poorly, then content will stagnate because the other doesn't have to do as well anymore in order to continue to stay on top. So, you know, you always want both to be continuing to improve and doing more and better things, right? Always, 100% of the time. And it's a shame that Warner Brothers Discovery is in a situation now where it can't compete on that level. I hope that it's able to maintain and get better in the future. I really do.
Well, yeah, I just hope that, you know what, from this confusing and weird situation, maybe some light would be shone in the future. We can only hope. Okay, so anything else to say on the matter? Because I think I've said everything I have to say.
No, I think we're good. I think we're clear.
Well, then this was all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed. What do you think about the entire situation with Warner Brothers Discovery? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Do you want to kill the new CEO? Do you praise him for his bold decisions? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. Wolf is usually handling this one, so take it for all it's worth. So until next time, I was HC.
I'll praise the CEO, David Zaslav, for calling Zack Snyder fans idiots, but I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye-bye. Don't hate me.